People say to me quite a lot, actually, Nikki, when am I going to get my first customer? And I have to be honest, I always say, I don't know. There are so many variables as to when you get your first customer. What is your background? I mean, if you're going into, if you're becoming a CQC service provider, as someone who has been in private healthcare their whole life or has worked for the NHS their whole life, you're a nurse, you're a carer, you are a social worker, you know, I mean, you don't really have a background in, I mean, you obviously have a background in speaking to people, but you don't have any background in business development. You don't have any background in marketing. You don't have any real background in scaling a business. You don't have any real background in attracting customers and scaling a business. So that's one thing you have to consider. The second thing you have to consider is, you know, how much money do you have? How much capital you have? Because that will determine how much money you can put into marketing. That will determine how much money you can put into lead generation. There is so many different variables. Are you going to do all generate the leads yourself, or are you going to hire someone like the business developers at Education? These are different things that will dictate how long it takes you to get your first customer. Some people are really unfortunate and go a whole 2 years without getting any customers just to close down. It happens more than you would imagine. Some people are fortunate and they get their first customers in the first 2 months. You also need to consider, what route are you going to take? Are you going to go heavily towards tendering? If so, I hope you have a great tender writer and a lot of capital. Are you going to learn how to do tenders yourself? Or are you going to go heavily towards a private route? Or are you going to diversify your chances, which is what I always suggest? These things are what will determine how quickly you get your first customer, guys. I am not able to predict the future, so I cannot say. But you know, book a consultation. Let me get a better feel of what your background is, what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are, and I can give you more of a realistic picture of what kind of trajectory you are to expect. But yeah.